Chris Bey, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I just got off a really great weekend of Impact Wrestling, so I'm feeling sweet. Some would say too sweet, right?
I thought you might go there straight away. We might as well start with that because obviously some things happened towards the end of that pay-per-view. Yourself and Jay White clearly been planning some things. What's happened there? What's going on with Bullet Club?
What's going on with Bullet Club is just the 2022 takeover of professional wrestling again with Bullet Club. That's what's going on. You gotta make things fresh, but also keep them somewhat the same. So out with the old, in with the new old, and with the addition of myself and Jay White, and Bullet Club is about to take over the professional wrestling world once again.
But does Tamina and Tangolo not fall into the new old bracket as well? Why the change there? Why out with some of them, but in with some other ones?
See, the thing about Tama and Tonga is that they have some big egos, okay? They have some pretty big egos. And I don't know if egos really fit into the Bullet Club mantra. I don't know if you know what the Bullet Club's about, but we're not big ego guys. So those guys they couldn't fit in the same room as us anymore. But if you really want more information, you're gonna have to talk to Jay White on this. I don't want to speak on this.
Hey, hopefully you can put me in contact with him. That'd be lovely.
We'll make it happen.
But I did see an interview with all the members of the new Bullet Club, so to speak, after the Impact pay-per-view went off the air, and a sort of takeover that involves Impact and New Japan and AEW was spouted out by Jay White. Let's just take Jay White out of the equation, so to speak, for a second. If you had sort of carte blanche and you could just pick anybody from Impact or AEW or New Japan to get in Bullet Club, who would it be?
Well, my first pick would be the real deal Tasha Steelz, honestly. if we're being honest, that would be my very first pick because we need the flavor and finesse combination. And Tasha Steelz is one of the absolute best out right now. And we need that female talent in the Bullet Club. So that would be my initial pick straight from Impact, from my home team. It would be the real deal Tasha Steelz.
So could we flip things on the head from a little while ago and maybe have you interested in Cody Rhodes' signature, perhaps? Because I saw a little while ago he was touting your name about, and now obviously he's currently a free agent, maybe, is when this goes out. So could you maybe get him in Bullet Club once again?
Well, he is or was once dashing, and now I am the dashing when I hold down the moniker. So you know what? I've got all the love in my heart for Cody. He showed me love. So if he wants to come back to Bullet Club, if he wants to come make some real money, if he wants to come submit his legacy, that Rhodes legacy, by taking over with the greatest faction in professional wrestling in 2022 and upward, then he would come home to Bullet Club. So, Cody, if you're hearing this, if you're still a free agent when this airs, you have my number. I have your number. Let's talk.
I remember you a little while ago saying that for your sort of story to be complete, a match against Cody Rhodes would need to happen. Let's say, hypothetically, he ends up where everyone thinks he's going, which is the WWE. Do you think that could happen there, potentially?
In this crazy world of professional wrestling, the one saying that always stuck true to me is to never say never, right? Yeah. We all have our feelings and reservations towards certain promotions, certain people, certain match stipulations, whatever it is. But as time goes on, we all change a little bit. We all grow, we all evolve. I remember first getting into wrestling and being like, man, I'm never taking pile drivers, and I've taken more than I can even count at this point. So we're always changing our mind a little bit. So the possibilities of myself versus Cody Rhodes in WWE is a never say never scenario, that one day we could be standing across from each other in front of, hundreds of thousands of people and millions of people worldwide watching and just making history. So never say never. I'd like to face Cody anywhere in the world, but if it would happen there, I'd be down for that too.
It'd be a nice story after what he said about you and potentially what you could do to him.
100%, yeah.
So I guess that's all sort of Bullet Club stuff dealt with. That's what we're here to do. We've dealt with the Bullet Club stuff. Now, as for your match at No Surrender last weekend, obviously didn't quite go your way. Is the future for you in the X division, or are you setting sights higher up the world title potentially?
My sights have always been on the world title. Since I got to Impact Wrestling, my sights have been on the world title, but I understand there's a pecking order, right? Right now, Moose is doing an incredible job as our world champion, and Trey Miguel is doing an incredible job as our X Division champion, but I'm still waiting for a one-on-one opportunity for the X Division championship, because when I lost my championship, I never got a one-on-one rematch. I had to face off in a 5-way at Bound for Glory. I had to face off in number 1 contendership matches, triple threats, the Ultimate X match at Slammiversary this past year, but I never got a one-on-one rematch. Whereas you look at my title reign after I beat Willie Mack, the first thing I did, first episode of Impact right after that, was give him his one-on-one rematch so I could beat him again and show people that I was the true champion. See, if they want to put me one-on-one against Trey Miguel, I'll take his title, and then I'll show everyone that the X Division is mine and that I'm the greatest wrestler of this era, any era. And then I'll use option C. We'll call it option CB, right? And then I'll become one of the youngest world champions to ever do it in our industry. So my sights are set on gold, whether it be tag team gold and other promotions, so that I can also have tag team championships along with my good brothers, my Bullet Club members, or whether it's going to be the X Division championship to leapfrog me to the world championship. I just want championship gold.
Now, you mentioned that you're still young there, and that is something that I think gets lost on some people just looking at you in the professional wrestling ring. Yeah. Something I've always wondered with wrestlers of your ilk, there must be that moment where you realize, my God, my body can do things other human beings' bodies can't do. When was that moment for you? Did you have that moment?
Yes, I've had that moment a couple of times. I remember one time specifically, the first time I wrestled in Florida, I was doing a triple threat match, and I was doing my big dive to the outside, but the rampway was very narrow and very short as well to the stage. And the stage was one of those stages where they didn't really have stairs. It just kind of dropped off the stage. And I remember running, doing my dive, and landing the tope con heel on my feet, but landing with so much momentum that I had to keep kind of pressing forward. And then I did another front flip onto the stage and landed on my feet. And I remember just like looking around the crowd, because the crowd thought something crazy was going to happen. I thought something crazy was going to happen. And I somehow came out unscathed. And I remember looking around and being like, okay, I might be really good, because I don't even know how I did that myself. I didn't try to do it that way. I've never tried to replicate it. I remember wrestling Starboy Charlie before this past summer for GCW, and I remember doing my patented Euro in the corner, but he's such a smaller person that I came in so high and tight that when I hit, I just flew over the top rope, but somehow I hooked the top rope and landed like perfectly hooked, just like posing for the crowd. And it was a great shot of everyone just like looking at me posing there, just hanging up like upside down. But I don't know, man. I have these moments in the ring where stuff happens and it reminds me why I'm the ultimate finesser. I'm living the gimmick for sure.
It must be nice to live up to that kind of gimmick, like the sort of finesse sort of stuff. But Sacrifice takes place on March the 5th.
Yes.
What are your plans for that? Or aims, I should say, maybe.
Oh, well, for now, my plans is to make sure I get a dub no matter what category I'm in, whether it's a tag team match, a scramble match, or a singles match. I plan to get a dub. I plan to watch Jay White defeat Alex Shelley. I plan on doing that because that's going to be a fantastic match. Him versus Eric Young at this past No Surrender was a great match, but I already knew who was going to win. Jay was going to take that, and he took that. He put Eric Young on his back, 1, 2, 3. He's looking up at the lights. That's his new finish, looking up at the lights, okay? And that's going to be the same thing for Alex Shelley. So myself and Good Brothers, I'm going to make sure they retain their tag team championships, make sure Jay White comes out a winner, and make sure I get a dub for myself so I can keep showing Impact Management why I am the right now of Impact Wrestling, not the future. No, I don't want to wait. I'm not waiting for anything. I'm the right now of Impact Wrestling.
And we've just got to mention as well, Jay White obviously popping up on AEW. Could you potentially be in his corner on a match in the future, or maybe having matches yourself on AEW? I've got to ask the question.
It's only right? It's only right. I think this is the greatest time for professional wrestling and to be a pro wrestling fan, because all these doors that have kept talent separate for so long are finally being able to be open, and you're able to plant these dream match scenarios and see things that you never thought you'd see before. And so many people have been asking me since the inception of AEW, when am I going to be in AEW? When am I going to wrestle AEW? Am I going to show up? As soon as when Jay White showed up at AEW, I think I was in the gym, and my phone was just blowing up, and everyone was like, yo, are you at AEW? Are you at AEW? Yeah. And I'm like, what's going on? And I see him like, oh, nice. Jay just showed up over there. So I always know that we have unlimited reach with the Bullet Club and with everything that we do. So for me to show up in AEW, I think it's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. And I think the only way to find out is by watching AEW and watching Bullet Club very closely and following the signs. Because I like to leave little crumbs every now and then. So if you keep the crumbs, you'll follow the trail and you'll see where we lead.
I certainly hope so, because of the old Impact and AEW crossover. A lot of people, including myself, were just waiting for you to show up, but it never happened. What did you make of that first sort of forbidden door being broken down and then New Japan and Impact getting involved in AEW?
It was interesting because we were all kind of just living through it as it was happening. We were all watching the product and seeing, what's going to happen next. We're all kind of hoping it's going to be us. Like internally, I wanted it to be me as well. I wanted to have an opportunity over there. I was glad to see, Moose get to go over there and fight Kenny for the championship. And, Christian and Kenny and Private Party, Matt Hardy, all those guys coming over to us. There was so much cool stuff going on. I was hoping that I was going to be able to be a part of it, but when I wasn't able to be a part of it, I wasn't too upset about it, because I understand that everything's about timing in life. And as young as I am and as successful as I am at this young age, I have to remember that I'm still just getting started. So my time will come, and when my time comes, I'm gonna make sure that I do my best to knock it out the park. So first round, I may not have been drafted, but rest assured, my stock has only gone up, and I'm going to make sure it happens real soon.
No doubt about it. So we are here, obviously, to take part in Straight to Hell, where you send your 5 biggest pet peeves about life as a professional wrestler and all the business as a whole straight down to hell. But to get a better understanding of the things you want to send down to hell, first and foremost, I must ask you, Chris Bey, what do you love about professional wrestling? What makes you love professional wrestling? That's a deep question. So if you want some time to think about it, I understand.
Yeah, it's a deep question, but it's rooted in my blood. All of us, I love the fact that pro wrestling brings together the almost the outcast group of people. You know what I'm saying? Like all of us had that time period growing up being fans of pro wrestling where, we tell people we're fans of pro wrestling. Oh, you like that? Why? Why do you like that? Why don't you watch football? Why don't you watch basketball? Whatever it is. So I think we all are able to bond on that level. I think what I like about wrestling the most is the pageantry and the emotional roller coaster it takes you on, because you can watch a really good basketball game and see two teams going really hard to win, and the score can be really close, or you can see a team down and you can see them do this upset. And sometimes you just see complete blowouts, in the world of pro wrestling, we get this opportunity to suspend belief. And that's the greatest thing for me, is to look out into the crowd and play with people's emotions, so to speak. I love to be in the ring and to be able to just listen to the audience and see what it is that they want, see what it is that they want to see, what they're feeling, and then try to play off of that to give them a show that they can remember. I like giving people memories that'll be able to last. And the greatest part for me is when people come up to me afterwards, or they see me and I remember them from shows years ago, and they're always talking about certain moments that they were able to be there for. It reminds me that I did my job particularly well on that night, because I left a lasting impression. So that lasting impression is what I love the most about pro wrestling. I always think about Eddie Guerrero winning the WWE Championship, AJ Styles becoming the TNA World Champion in 2007, him and Sting having that look, and then Sting jumping off, and then him hitting the 450, and the whole crowd is mobbing the ring, these special moments is what makes pro wrestling the greatest thing in the world. I'll never forget any of these moments, or where I was when I first saw them, and I love to rewatch them multiple times a year.
My God, that was beautiful. And I guess when it comes to the sort of ideology of what professional wrestling is, are you someone who can see the value in variety and sort of like it being down to the artist to paint their own artwork, so to speak? Or do you have this sort of one-track sort of thought on what professional wrestling should be?
I'm more of an artist about it, because when I first got in, people were, I don't want to, spit any names, because no one's wrong or right. It's all flavors of ice cream. But certain people, when I first came in, were, because of the way they were trained, they were teaching me, this certain way that it's done. And once I listened to their coaching and listened to their advice and followed that path and understood what pro wrestling was, I started to dip away from that a little bit, so I could throw a little bit more of myself in there and try things that weren't the typical norm. And that's when I really started to get a lot of engagement with my fan base and started to realize, well, okay, what they said wasn't wrong, and that also works, but not everything is going to work the same for everyone. And once I found that out about myself, that's what I started to push along with the students that I coach or anybody that I help give feedback to. I always try to tell people to just be yourself and try different things and, see what works for you, because everything's different and everyone has a different eye. So even if we try to keep it to this one standard, not everyone is going to see it at this one standard, and we need to have something for everything. That's the thing I love the most about wrestling these days, is that you have people represented from every part of the world, every single identification, whatever you want to identify as. There's people for everything in wrestling these days, so there's something for everyone. So if you watch Impact and you like 3 people from the show, you watch AEW, you like 4 people from the show, you watch WWE, you like 6 people from the show. Regardless, you can take away a couple things from each show and find things that you like these days. There's something for everyone out there, and it's because everyone is able to do to be much freer now and not just stick to the one-track mind. So I prefer the free route.
God, we did no prep before we went on the air today, everybody. That just comes straight off the top of his head. What a beautiful mind you have.
Thank you.
But if I had to ask you for your first thing, just anything about professional wrestling to send down to hell to rot for the rest of eternity, Chris Bey, what would it be?
My first thing is wrestling gear that does not fit properly. Like, I hate that so much. Like, I don't know. I'm a gear guy. So like, I've always been, flashy for the Shawn Michaels attire. What color Randy Orton's wearing tonight? What color tights does Eddie Guerrero have on? Like, what is Edge wearing? I want to know. AJ Styles always had the sickest gear. What does he got on tonight? I always want to see some cool gear. So I used to hate like seeing when people's kick pads are all rotated backwards off after they've done like one kick. And I'm like, who sized you for these? Okay. Because these clearly don't fit. You borrowed these from your big brother or something, because this isn't going to work right now. Or they start sagging down at the waistline. We got to get that out of here. We got to be professional. We got to get that out of here.
This is the sort of thing, like, no matter what sort of stage you are up the ladder of professional wrestling, your gears always got to be well fitting.
It has to. And if you lost weight because, you're in the gym and you change your physique, we'll go ahead and see your tailor and tell him the same thing and have them fix it, okay? Don't be wearing the same stuff like you're still the same size.
Just to play devil's advocate, though, what about the money? What if some people can't afford to get it fixed? What do you say about that?
Listen to me. I've been there too, so I understand all aspects of it. So if that's your case, just don't let it last for too long. Find your solutions, because there's a way to finesse around everything. I didn't always have a tailor, but I knew guys coming up in wrestling, fellow trainees of mine who also trained to be wrestlers who were making their own gear. So it was easy for me to take a pair of trunks that a gear maker made for me that might not fit on the waistband and be like, hey, do you think you could help me with the seam on this? And they've been able to fix stuff for me. So just find your routes. Communication's key. And
I just need to wonder, how did you come to the decision to wear the gear you wear? Why did you find it the most comfortable gear to wear?
So when I always wanted to wear tights, but when I first started carrying cross, I still call him Carrion from time to time as a joke to myself, because I always thought the name Carrion was funny. It's like a carry-on, like your luggage on the plane, the carry-on. But Kevin Cross, good friend of mine. He when I first got into wrestling was, giving me a lot of advice, a lot of feedback, one of my coaches, and he was telling me I had a nice physique at the time. He was telling me, like, it looks really good for pro wrestlers to wear trunks. So when I first started, I was wearing trunks, but I'm not going to lie. The wedgies people give me when they roll me in the ring, I was deathly afraid that one day something was going to slip out and then it's on the internet forever. My nieces and nephews got to see me exposed like that. I didn't want that to happen to me. So as soon as I got the chance to come to Impact, I went back to long tights. And like I said, I mentioned AJ Styles, Edge, and John Morrison. And I also throw guys like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero in that category. The long tights that these guys always had always looked super cool to me. And I'm a gear guy. So I was just like, you know what? Once I get to the tights, I got to have the most fire gear. Like, I have to be creative. I have to feel good, because when I feel good, I play good. When I look like a superstar, I play like a superstar. Not to say I'm playing a superstar, because I'm obviously a superstar.
No doubt about that. And just sort of the creative process behind your gear, because it's obviously very flamboyant. There's a lot of finesse involved, obviously, naturally. Yes. How do you get the idea off the paper into the gear, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. By just trying to be as random as I can and not sticking to one person. I like, for the most part, each set of my gear has been designed by someone different. All my jackets are done by 3 different people who have done all 3 of my different jackets, and I'm having a 4th being made currently. But I like to go to different people, so because I know people have a certain style. So when you go to different people, it never has that feel of one thing looking like the last thing because it was made by the same artist. So I always try to look and seek through different artists and see what I like. But I love taking stuff from outside of wrestling to bring it into wrestling because, you know, art imitates life, life imitates art. And if we can connect with people on that basis, that's where I'm going for. So whenever I'm thinking of a new set of gear, I'm just like, okay, what's the craziest or like the most random thing that I can think of? Well, what's something that I liked and how can I make it my own? The No Surrender gear was inspired by Randy Orton's SummerSlam 2004 gear. And I was a big fan of that gear always. And I saw a picture of him with the world title in that gear post-match, a really good like HD photo probably a month ago. And I was like, and I hit up my gear maker and I was like, yo, can you find this color for me? And then he's just, you know, like, okay, let me try to look around. I hit up Randy Orton to try to get the specific color, see if he remembered, but I knew he wouldn't remember, you know, it's so far away. But I try to just be different like that. The Black Panther gear, I knew my nephew was a really big fan of Black Panther, and Chadwick Boseman had just passed away. So I was like, you know what, in honor of my nephew, in honor of, you know, the culture of Chad, you know, I'm going to go ahead and make this Black Panther gear. And I had it drawn a certain way. And I took the drawing to Main Event Gear. Main Event Gear was able to, you know, give me some cool materials and way to make the vibranium look, you know, on the top. And I'm just like, okay, sick. But I always try to like come with a base idea, but let the creativity flow through the artist, because I know if the artist has some free range, they're going to be able to have fun with it. And if they enjoy it and they have fun with it, we're going to create something cool.
That is cool. Hey, what an explanation that was. I never thought about wrestlers breaking down the forbidden door in terms of gear, stealing Randy Orton's peach tights from SummerSlam 2004. It's lovely. So ill-fitting gear has gone down to hell to Ross for the rest of eternity. Chris, what's your second offering, please?
Okay, this one's it might give you some hate, okay? But I shout out to Seth Rollins because he brought this to mainstream TV, to my knowledge. But the superplex roll through into something else, I'm over it. I am over that. First of all, taking a superplex sucks because it's so high up. It is such a high impact move. Let that sit. Let the people feel that, okay? Don't roll me back to my feet and pick me up and do a buckle bomb with me so you can hit the ropes so I can super kick you so I can hit the ropes so you can give me a discus lariat. Don't do all that, okay? My back hurt. Let me lay here and sell this so I can kick out that too anyway. Let me just lay here, bro. Like, other than Seth Rollins, if you ain't Seth Rollins, stop doing superplexes, roll-throughs with stuff, man. It ain't cool for you, man. Let Seth keep it.
So this is strictly from taking the moves, the sequence of moves all back to back.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Because you can't beat a good superplex. You know, like, you know, when you see a superplex, you're like, yeah, that's a superplex. I don't expect to see any more motion after the superplex for a quick second. So the fact that it's become more popular to take away that impact of the superplex, I'm not a fan of it. If one person's doing it, like I said, one person's doing it, it's cool. That's their style. Like I was talking about earlier, there's a norm. But when you go outside that norm, now you've created this. Okay, cool. That's your style. Everybody let that be his style. Go create your own stuff.
So is this very much commonplace on everywhere you're going these days in terms of professional wrestlers, just doing the superplex, then rolling through to a different move?
I've seen it more times than I've expected to, and I think there's too many times.
On the pantheon of like moves that really hurt, just standard moves, I say standard moves, you know, moves in the ring that don't involve foreign objects or weapons or anything like that. Is the superplex pretty much up the top there in terms of how much it just takes out of you? It looks like it would do. Yeah,
for sure. I think I put the superplex probably at the top of moves that drive the air out of me for sure. Next to power bombs, like on low impact rings mostly, but like superplexes are probably number one now that I think about it for me.
It's so weird how wrestling evolves, isn't it? Because obviously Bob Orton back in the day, that was his finisher, the superplex, and then no one would get up. Now it's just sort of like a transitional move. That must make your generation's job a lot harder, I should say.
So much harder. So guys, let's dial it back for the sake of myself, please. Only me, only Chris. Don't worry about anybody else. Let's dial it back, okay?
So let's say you're not taking the move, you're just watching the match. If someone whaps out the superplex into a roll through and then something else, are you going, oh, it's very impressive that, or like, oh, we don't need to see that?
If it's cool, like I said, I can appreciate stuff too. Like I'm not the stickler who's gonna be like, man, don't do that. So if it's cool, I'm gonna give it props for being cool, but I still don't want to see it.
Fair dues. So I would assume that like you're being 26, you'd be thinking, oh, cool moves, more cool moves, more cool moves. That's a good thing. But it seems like you've got quite like a, I don't want to say old fashioned, but you know what I'm trying to say, like a let things settle, let things like breathe, and sort of develop from their sort of mindset about everything.
I was trained by Sam Bodie, Kenny King, D'Lo Brown, Cross. I just mentioned Cross. These are guys who take their time. These are guys who tell long-term stories. So even though I'm a young guy and I'm a part of this new generation and the current face of the X division, forget a Trey Miguel. I still am an old soul.
So superplexes roll through. Is it just specific to Falcon Arrow, or is it just anything to roll through?
Anything. Yeah, anything.
That can go down to Hell to Ross, rot for the rest of eternity. Put my teeth back in. Chris, what's your third offering, please?
Replica belts as your championship for your indie promotions. We can go back to the budget thing earlier. Okay, like what if you can't? I get that, right? I get it, but there are cheaper routes where you don't have to take the big gold belt and slap a sticker over it. There's some cheaper routes out there that I've seen. You can buy a belt for $200 custom and $300 custom. You ain't got to go buy a $400 replica belt to just go do all this stuff, because I feel like it just takes away the significance of your promotion, because it always makes it look like it's an imitation rather than a real attempt,
Yeah, this is something I can relate to for once on Straight to Hell, because when Cultaholic first launched, obviously we have our belt that's on the channel. We got ours done. We didn't have a single penny when the company started, but we somehow found a belt maker in Pakistan who did things on the cheap. So we got in contact with him and waited several months, but eventually we got the little Cultaholic title you would have seen at the start of the channel. So there is a way for promoters out there to get belts done on the cheap, and for them to look good as well.
Exactly. They don't look too bad. They don't look bad at all.
So what is the most random title belt replica that you've held while wrestling for a different promotion?
Trying to think.
Or maybe that you've seen.
Yeah. I think I seen a local company uses a local company in Arizona. They use the ECW championships, and this isn't me sneak dissing, okay? So don't be like, oh, I told them this, okay? I've given them the spiel, okay? I'm a belt guy, because I used to show up and be like, hey, here's my belt guy's card, give him a call, okay? There's a local promotion in Arizona who uses the ECW heavyweight championships, the old 90s version, that one with just their sticker on it for their tag team belts, but it's like just the sticker in the middle, so you can still read all the rest of the plates. And so every time I see it, I'm just like, are you the ECW champion or are you the Arizona tag team? Because I can't tell.
Hey, you got to wonder what these promoters are thinking when they step back and think, yeah, that looks good, that. What's going through their mind there?
I feel like they go like this. Yeah, that's it right there. That'll do.
Just move that sticker up half an inch. It needs to go up half an inch. That's a big mistake. I don't know what else to say there, Chris, but replica belts being used on the indies, I guess, just needs to go to hell. Just get your own belts. There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Go to hell.
Fourth offering, please.
Okay. Big men who dive. Hear me out.
Oh,
Hear me out. I don't mind when big men dive on big men. But I've seen and had scenarios where big men want to dive on me. And I'm like, first of all, is this the finish? You are pretty big, okay? So don't be diving on me and expecting me to get up. Second of all, if you diving, what do I have to do now to get over? Because I'm the little guy, right? I'm the little guy. So now you're stealing from what I'm supposed to be doing. What if we get in the ring and I just choke slam you, huh? I'm a 7 foot tall guy. Would you like that? Are you going to get up for me, huh? No, you're not. So don't be diving on me, man.
So I'm trying to put myself in your shoes here. Let's say you're towards the top end of the card. And at the lower end of the card is some big man who can do topes to asinas, all this sort of stuff. Are you potentially sat there watching their matches thinking, oh my God, they're doing that. What am I going to have to do at the end of this card to sort of top what they're doing?
Every time. Every time I've ever seen that type of scenario, I'm just like, all right, cool. Let's see if my stuff is even going to hit now or if I got to change my game plan. Yeah, every time, because it's just, like you just can't top it. It's levels to it, right? So if they're going to do it, when I do it, it's not going to be as impressive.
And when you're in a match with someone who's going to do it to you, is there just sort of like a gentleman's hand? You're like, oh, this is going to kill you, because I'm massive. How does that work?
Yes, basically. that's basically how it works. It's like, what's going to happen is going to happen, but just know it's going to happen.
So do you think that big men should limit this sort of stuff, or is this just like let the artists do what they want sort of thing?
Limit for sure. I like when it goes in moderation, because then we can appreciate it more. If they're doing it all the time, I can't appreciate it. I just think it's overdone. But when you're popping it out every now and then, I'm cool with it.
I'm going to be a bit cheeky and ask, maybe behind the scenes at Impact, is there perhaps a chart or something on the wall where certain spots are written down so people later in the card know what people earlier in the card are doing and vice versa?
We're actually a really good family at Impact, so we're all pretty cognizant of what everyone else is doing and pretty considerate of everyone as well.
It's good to hear. But Chris, I know you're pushed for time, so let's get your fifth thing down to hell and I'll let you crack on with the rest of your day.
All right, I appreciate you. So the last thing, and this kind of ties into the belt thing, but I wanted to make it its own thing. Cheap promoters, okay? Cheap promoters, I get it, right? I get there's an art of finesse to this business, but the hot dog and handshake days have got to go. This is a tough sport, and I need to see my people paid correctly, We all can work pretty hard, and I feel like if we take the mindset of a cheap promoter and just put them, in a meeting with said talent for this show, and we can all come up with a way to properly promote the show together so that we can draw more for the show, so that there can be more money, so that people can make more money, we would have a better time rather than just those certain promoters. Because I do know certain promoters who are just happy to be promoters, who will, book a show and barely do any promotion for it, expect to really pay everyone no one, not care that 5 people show up to the show, if that, and just be happy with it. We can't leave that as the standard. We have to have a better mindset about it. So I just tie that all into the cheap promoter mindset.
Are they a dying breed?
Yes. Slowly they are, especially with the help of the way the world has changed the last 2 years, with everything that happened with the pandemic and the way everyone started to change their thinking, and everyone's morals started to show for sure some more, and people started to weed out the bad people in wrestling. It's starting to get a lot better from that perspective, but I still see it from time to time. So I always let my anybody who I'm coaching or helping out and giving advice to, always let them know to be aware of it and understand that you gotta look at it and see if it's going to be beneficial for you, an opportunity that's going to be beneficial for you, take it. But at a certain time, you're going to have to either speak up for yourself, or you're going to have to make a better decision for yourself.
Yeah. And what is the worst thing you've seen sort of promoter pay a talent to wrestle?
Nothing. Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Just nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. And I've seen talent go out there and, take wicked bumps and some scary bumps from people who weren't as safe or ready for the position, but they wanted them to look a certain way. And that happened.
That's shocking, though. I don't know what to say, but there, straight down to hell it goes, exactly where it deserves to be. Chris, thank you very much for your time today. I'll give you this opportunity now. Just plug anything you want at the camera. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me. I've been a fan of yours. Like I told you before, I've been a fan of your work for a long time, way before I was in wrestling. So it was pretty cool to be here talking to you.
Thank you very much. That's shocking to hear, to be honest with you.
It's crazy. It's a crazy world. I'm very grateful to be where I'm at today. Young, successful, about to take over the world with Bullet Club. My name is Dashing Chris Bey on all social media. That's BEY, not BAE, for the ladies who are listening. If you're a fan of music and music that is good, you can listen to my music on all streaming platforms: Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, Pandora, YouTube, SoundCloud, whatever it is that you use for your music source, it's on there. Check me out. I have pretty good music. I like it. If you like it, cool. If you don't, thanks for even listening to it and giving me a shot. I appreciate that. Follow me on YouTube, where I do vlogs called Bay Today. And I botched that. It's called Bay Days. And such a big fan of Wiz Khalifa. Sorry, Day to Day. Bay Days. And I'm on like episode 8. It basically shows my journey with pro wrestling and my weekend trip. So if you like exclusive content, that's there. If you're a shoe head, go ahead, download the On My Feet network. I have a show on there that's coming up real soon called Kicks of the Bay. So stay tuned for that one. And I'm pretty sure that's all my drops. So watch me on Impact Wrestling on Thursday nights, Access TV. If you don't have Access TV, get Impact Insider on YouTube, 99 cents a month. You can get the shows streamed to you right there, commercial free. And if you do the $5 option, I believe, you can also get the pay-per-view and app specials for free on there too. So, yes.
Magic. He's everywhere. Chris Bey, thank you very much. That was Straight to Hell. I've been Ross Tweddell, and we'll see you next time.